Well, this is a crazy spaceship of a knife. What's going on, guys? Carter here with Edged Mindset. We're taking a look at the Remette Swordfish here today. You may have heard a lot about this knife. It made a few waves when it first popped up, and I've got it here. We're going to talk about it. Now, first, caveat. First thing I got to say, man, I dropped the ball on this knife. I have had this thing for a while. I purchased it with my own money. I wanted to check it out. It looked so cool. I bought it. It came in. I cannot for the life of me remember why I did not do an unboxing on it, but I didn't. And then I threw it in the case that I use for like, here's the videos I need to do coming up. And it just sat there for like months. And I've been doing other videos and other videos. And now it's a little too late. They've got a new version of this knife out, and we're going to talk about that here in a minute. But hey, I still want to mention this thing because it is kind of cool and kind of interesting. But I do have some things I don't like about it, and some things I think might be better on this knife, or at least I would like to propose it. So, all right, let's kick this off. Let's get started. Enough yapping. Remette Swordfish. This is a gravity knife. So it follows the same laws and restrictions that like an automatic OTF knife would follow. I'm trying to see if I can even show the action properly on camera here. It's kind of difficult, and I will mention that is one of the things that I don't love about this knife. But this follows the same laws that OTFs and automatics would follow for some weird reason. When you get into gravity knife laws, things get very confusing and very gray and very strange on what is or isn't a gravity knife. But yes, so please know your local laws before you purchase something like this guy right here. Let's do some specs so that we know what we're looking at. It's about a 3 1/4 inch blade. Overall length is like 7 3/4, almost 8 inches. So decently sized knife. If we're doing some size comparisons, here's the Paramilitary 2. So pretty much the same exact size. Like, wow, that is very, very close to the size of that there. Here is another Remette. This is the Remette Rhino, a little bit bigger than the Rhino. Great knife, by the way. Great budget knife. Here is an Inkosi Tanto, almost the same size there as well. So kind of that good, large, medium, large-ish size knife. And then this is the Arcane Creature, which is bigger. It's a pretty big freaking knife, man. This features M390 steel. It is made overseas in China, by the way. If I don't remember to mention that later, I guess I don't have to now because I just mentioned it right now. Titanium handle, which is an interesting choice, and I want to talk about that here in a minute. We got carbon fiber inlays on the back. And the thing with this is I didn't realize it didn't have a pocket clip until I got it in my hand. I'm usually pretty good when I'm looking at knives. I've been in the game long enough that I get a good idea of what I'm going to get. But for some reason, this one, I just completely failed to notice there is no pocket clip on this knife until I got it in hand. And I was like, what the hell? Where's the pocket clip? So the latest version that just came out does have a pocket clip. It also comes in different kinds of carbon fiber, like Arctic, fat carbon, things like that, which is much nicer than this carbon fiber. Unfortunately, this kind of peel ply, shiny surface carbon fiber is a little dated now, and it actually comes across as cheap, which is interesting because it used to be kind of the sign of, higher end knives and things. But it's just so common now, or at least in my opinion, it comes across a little bit cheap. This one isn't too bad though, because it's got a nice kind of matte finish, even though it's smooth. Nice matte finish to it, but that really shiny stuff, I can't stand. But really cool how they have that inlay there. Pretty good stuff. This is kind of a slight Tanto, but it's not compound grind, so it's like a Spanto type thing going on. Got this opening hole here, which of course is non-functional, reasonably utilitarian blade. They got a few different blade shapes now. Some are a little bit more utilitarian than others. Interestingly enough, I don't think they have a dagger grind, which is strange because one of the main benefits of having an OTF is you can have a blade that's sharpened on both sides. And being that this is a gravity knife, it's already restricted. I don't think any more laws and restrictions would apply having a double-edged blade on this. So interesting choice that they went with a single edge. Now that does mean that you can use it a little bit more because you can put your thumb on the back of the blade here, really bear down and actually use this thing as a knife. but it somewhat feels like a missed opportunity not doing the double edge. Maybe it'll come out here in the future, or maybe it is out and I'm just not aware of it. Titanium handle, like I mentioned before. We've got some cool milling action going on here. Looks really nice. The overall design of this thing is absolutely slick. I mean, that's really the winning call to arms with this knife. This function right here, how these teeth kind of spread out, and that's what locks the blade in place. You press this, it opens up, and then it's free to slide in. And then once it's all the way in, now it is closed and it won't come out on its own. This is a really cool mechanism. I also really like OTFs that have buttons on the flat side. I don't know why, I just like it, like the Benchmade Infidel, the Direct Delta from Microtech. Something about it I really like. I know a lot of people don't, but I do. I think it just looks really cool and very symmetrical. So pretty cool. You've got some texturing here. So when we're talking about jimping, this kind of functions as your jimping. Now I know a lot of you are going to be asking, what is the blade play like? If you are just holding it down here, you do have play, especially this direction. A little bit this way, not a lot. But if you squeeze on these teeth right here, it completely locks it in, and there is no play whatsoever. So if you're holding it like this, this blade does not move at all. If you're back here, you do get some side to side. You can, well, yeah, you can see it. I mean, it's moving quite a bit, which is better than most gravity knives I've handled, including the Riot Exo, which does have some blade play. But once again, I'm going to be talking about that here in a minute. It's not all roses. There's a downside to that, and there's some stuff I really just don't love about this knife. Can't really speak to the pocket clip on the new version, as I haven't experienced it. You can see how much titanium's involved here. So overall, it's really cool. It's a cool mechanism. I haven't seen a gravity knife that uses a mechanism like this. I've seen these taken apart. It's pretty cool how they do it inside. It's not as complicated as you might think, which is always interesting. Now let's get to the bad, or the things I don't really care for. And that's the action. The action is not that great. You can see how I pretty much have to take this off camera in order to get it opened, because you have to completely open these jaws, and then it has to almost be completely vertical in order for this blade to slide in and out. Unlike the Exo, which will just slide open and close with just a 45-degree angled negative or positive, this thing really has to be like all the way down, or you even have to kind of give it a flick. Now there's two reasons for that, or three, I don't know, 2.5. One is the blade is pretty light. You know, the blade stock's decently thick, but it's fairly thin, and they've removed some material. It would be kind of nice if they just didn't do this. A, it doesn't serve a purpose. I think it would be kind of cleaner without this hole right here. And B, might add a little bit more weight to the blade. Maybe it would be inconsequential, but it might help the action a little bit, because the action is just kind of limp. Like it just kind of floats out there. And I have broken this in. I have purposely gone on walks around my neighborhood, which probably isn't a good idea, and just opened and closed this thing. I've manually kind of worked it, all kinds of stuff. I think this is about as broken in as I can reasonably get it. I mean, it may continue to break in over the years, but I've kind of gotten through the main humps of it. The button has gotten a lot smoother, but it still just doesn't open as well as I would like. The other reason it doesn't open as well as I would like is because of the titanium. So there's a reason you don't see very many OTFs made with titanium chassis. That's because titanium is sticky. It doesn't play well with steel. Steel does not glide on it very well. So like the Hawk Deadlock, which is made out of titanium, that blade is not running on that titanium. They've got steel inserts in there that the blade actually runs on. You don't want to ideally run steel on titanium. That's why usually aluminum is used. And I think aluminum in this case would make a lot of sense, especially if you did like 70-75 aluminum, which is actually very, very nice stuff. It's way harder than 60-65. Overall, it is a very strong, robust aluminum with really no downsides other than it's more expensive and takes more machining to do. But other than that, it's just better all the way around. Aluminum would be good for a couple of reasons. One, it would help with some of the balance. It's very handle heavy. I mean, all this titanium and a light blade, Some people may like that because it does kind of give you that blade dancing kind of feeling. But for me, it just feels a little awkward. And for a knife that should be very lightweight, in my opinion, and easy to carry, this thing is pretty heavy. Actually, we didn't even do a weight. Holy crap, what's wrong with me? This thing is pretty, yeah, 4.1 ounces. For an OTF, I'm just used to, and you may say 4.1 ounces isn't bad. Generally speaking, you're correct. I'm just so used to OTFs, Ultratechs and things being ultra lightweight because of the aluminum. So I think aluminum would make a good choice, but the bigger reason is it would allow this blade to kind of glide in and out of here easier. It just gets stuck, and if I open these all the way, I mean, you can hear that. Like, I almost can't even, like, it'll get stuck on that titanium, and I really have to pull this out. Like, this is not good action. Like, that is terrible. And, you know, obviously, depending on the angle, it works a little bit better. Like, on the side, it's a little better. Like this, it's not great. And so that means that this action is just, see, like it kind of just gets stuck. And I think that would be resolved if they did aluminum. It would glide much better, and the weight distribution of the knife would be a lot nicer. Now, I think Remette gets away with it because they have much lighter tolerances. The channel that the blade is running in, there's less contact with the blade, and it's a lot looser, right? It's really kind of just floating on top. Whereas this is acting more like an OTF, where I believe there's a pin in here, and it's riding through a channel on both sides, and there's just far more friction on the titanium when this blade is kind of traveling in and out of here compared to the Remette XO. So that's really my only complaint, which is a pretty big one for a gravity knife, right? Because the action is kind of the cool thing about it. Now, I don't know if the latest versions, if they've done anything to address that, or if they've made any other internal improvements and made the knife overall better. But this first version, I don't know. Action just isn't good enough for me. Let me know down below, is that a deal breaker for you? I mean, you've kind of seen the struggles that I've gone through, especially trying to do this on camera. You really got to flick it open in order to get this thing to work. And if you don't do it hard enough, it won't actually lock all the way out sometimes. So let me know, what do you think of this Swordfish? Is this any sort of knife that you would carry and use, or is this purely kind of a cool toy to have in your collection and show off? Appreciate all of you. Thanks for the comments and the likes and the subscribes and all that stuff. Couldn't do without you. Take care. I'm out.